Welcome, stargazers. Today we are going to be looking at Venus through the different astrological signs. We've already done a video on the different houses that Venus can be in and different planets that can be conjunct Venus, but today we're going to look at specifically the astrological signs. So get out your chart and let's explore where your particular Venus, what sign it's in. This is for those who don't know, this is the Lawless Astrology channel, and what we do here is we look at how the cosmos can help shape your relationships, how it can support you through difficult times, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit about astrology along the way. I'm Dabney Lawless, and I studied with the renowned Stephen Forrest for over 20 years. And as always, I invite you to like, subscribe, share. Any sort of engagement really does help, and is always very greatly appreciated. And so if you are interested in learning a little bit more about how Venus and a particular sign interacts, let's dig in, okay? Ready? Let's go, stargazers. So as I mentioned before, there's a really great deep dive on a YouTube channel called Astrology with Heather. But just to give you a quick overview on what Venus is our love sign. It is how we relate to other people. And so it is our one-on-one relationships. It is where we find balance and harmony. It is our attraction to beauty and aesthetics. So Venus plays a very inspiring and beautiful role in all of our lives. And I know that when people come to me for astrology readings, one of the primary things they want to learn about is their relationships. When will love come? What will this be the one? And, I'm having a hard time with my husband or my boyfriend. And, what can you tell me? What insight? How can you help me? So the goal with this video series really is to help you understand your own Venus. And what that means is that is what you bring to the table in a relationship, but it's also what you need in a relationship. And so I think that's a really key thing to pay attention to, because if you guys are speaking two different languages to one another, there can be problems. But if you can get on the same page and you can understand your partner's Venus, or you can understand your own Venus, you can understand their needs and you can understand your own needs. And that beginning understanding is where I think then there can be communication and there can be breakthroughs. And also it can help you understand where to attract a partner. Where are you going to find somebody that aligns with your soul? And so that's really the hope with this series, is that I give people some tools to understand their own astrological chart. And like I said, relationships are a biggie for everybody. So the first one we're going to dive into is Aries. So if you have your Venus in the sign of Aries, you are probably a little bit more independent minded. Aries tend to be here on this earth to find opportunities to challenge them so they can find their own inner courage. That is a really big hallmark for Aries, is that, I said to an Aries once, well, Aries are brave. And she said, no, they're not brave. They are cowards. But we are constantly come up against opportunities to find our own inner strength. And so I think that that's incredibly true when it comes to Aries. In the Venus in the sign of Aries, is you need somebody who is going to challenge you, and you are going to learn lessons from one another. But you also need a degree of independence. You can't rely on the other person entirely. But understand, and there's a disconnect sometimes with Venus and Aries, is Venus is about partnership and Aries likes to go it alone. Aries is like, I can do it. I've got this. Aries is all about let's take a chance. It's all about me because I'm going to make something happen. It's this cardinal energy of getting out into the world. And so in partnership, that sometimes can cause friction. Right? And so if you're not challenging yourself and you're not finding a partner that challenges you in some way, you're going to potentially have arguments. And a lot of times I see with Venus Aries people, they have a harder time tapping into what the other person's point of view. And so that's a little bit of a growth edge for you. But you're going to learn through partnership. There's a reason you have an Aries Venus. So the other thing that I would love to say is, there is something very attractive about somebody who's independent. An independent Aries Venus is really an attractive energy because you got this, right? You don't need the other person. And sometimes like that takes a little pressure off of the other person. So, really just kind of focusing on, finding that balance about you have to kind of try to see the other person's point of view, but also understanding the gift that you are going to be given by learning through the other person, through conflict potentially, or through adventure, or through making mistakes. Aries make mistakes, but then they learn from it and they find their courage. Venus in the sign of Taurus. Venus loves to be in the sign of Taurus. It's ruled by both Taurus and Libra. So here we have a Venus that knows how to be in the body. It's kind of a very earthy Venus, very much sensual, and can enjoy the luxurious things of life, but can also enjoy nature. So it's really funny. Taurus energy a lot of times falls into two categories when I do a reading for somebody. We have the Tauruses that really love silk sheets and fine dining and an amazing glass of wine. And then we have the Tauruses that wear Birkenstocks or Tevas and, just like are incredibly earthy and hike all day and, have no problem showering for 4 days. So, both of these can be true of Venus in the sign of Taurus. So, but the common theme here is that you want to feel safe and secure. And so Venus in the sign of Taurus, what are the things that you value? So if you're this kind of crunchy granola girl, you might value a partner that, wants to go outside with you and, explore nature and animals and rock climbing. Or you may be the kind of Venus and Taurus girl that really appreciates when your boyfriend gives you a diamond necklace. So it's really interesting because they're kind of dichotomous, like energies that are, on the spectrum of like the opposite end of the spectrum, but I see it all the time in my practice. So, you kind of figure out which sort of Taurus you are and what makes you feel safe and secure. And that's ultimately what you need to feed with your Venus in the sign of Taurus. So if you are that kind of crunchy girl, then you look for somebody who is a crunchy guy and who is going to want to connect with you on that level and who is, sensuous and can be earthy and in the body. Or if you are somebody that really likes the finer things and wants to go wine tasting. And, that's where you're going to meet your partner, is kind of more that sort of luxurious and, for lack of a better word, just kind of more like in the high finance realm. So anyway, that's a little bit about Venus in the sign of Taurus. So let's next move to Venus in the sign of Gemini, where you need to have mental stimulation. Gemini rules, things like books and wit and short distance travel. These are some of the like shorthand things for Gemini. And so a Venus partnership in Gemini tends to focus a little bit more on the intellect. And here is where you can match wits with somebody. You're not going to be satisfied with somebody who is not intellectually curious. You need somebody who's got something going on upstairs. You also need somebody who can be kind of fun and witty with you, who wants to be social with you, who, has a certain degree of charm. And as somebody with a Venus in Gemini, you bring a certain degree of charm to all relationships. Like you're kind of a fun, interesting person that people want to get to know. You're a good natural storyteller. And so you want somebody that, in your relationships, you bring that storytelling element. You're a talker. And both, you need somebody who wants to listen, who also wants to talk and, tell interesting stories. That's one of the things is like you need intellectual stimulation. You need to have that sort of, mind connection. And that is going to be the ticket to your success with a Venus in Gemini. So now we swing to some very different energy, which is Venus in Cancer. And Venus in Cancer is a completely different energy. This is where you need to feel safe and secure and loved and at home. And a Venus in Cancer can be a little bit more introverted. It can need a little bit more babying, for lack of a better word. You are a great caretaker. You want to take care of your partner, but you want your partner to take care of you too. So that's very important with a Venus in Cancer, is there's kind of this home and family is incredibly important to you. You may realize that people project onto you with a Venus in Cancer that you are going to be the mother in a relationship. And that may or may not be true for you. You may have some kind of quote unquote mothering tendencies, but it doesn't mean that you are a natural mother. We have to look at the whole chart. But in some areas, you are a caretaker and a caregiver within a relationship. You're kind of that nursemaid, and you need that as well. So that's the give and take, is like you bring that to the table, but also you want somebody who's going to, be there and take care of you. It's a very loyal sign. So when you say that, I do in your vows, you actually do. You mean it, and you really trust that the other person does as well. And so I think there's something really beautiful about Venus in Cancer. There can be kind of some downfalls, especially earlier on in life. Again, especially for younger women, men may project a little bit more about that, ball and chain energy on you, that, you're too motherly. And so just keep that in mind, that, as you get a little bit older, that is more attractive to men, because they can then picture themselves nesting with you. Another downfall could be this sense of kind of codependence or attracting people that need to be taken care of. And that's something with Venus in Cancer that you have to watch out for, is attracting people that are takers, because you are a natural born giver. Venus in the sign of Leo. So here you are a very bold and bright personality, and you can attract lots of people to you. There's something really shiny and bright and fun about Venus and Leo. It's kind of like you have this sort of big kid energy where you want to play with your partner. And I think that is really special, and it can allow for a lot of fun times ahead. So Venus is naturally the downside of Venus, the bad rap that Venus in Leo gets, is that the relationship is all about me, me, me. I'm the center of this relationship. I'm the king or the queen. And it doesn't have to be that way by any means. That's like the unhealthy expression of Leo in Venus. The very healthy expression is a creative partnership where you bring something unique into the life of another person. It's very artistic. It is very just original. I think that's a great word for Leo, is there's like an originality that when you feel confident, you can shine your individual energy out into the world. And I see that so often in my practice, where a healthy Leo energy, they know what they love and they lean into it. And so I think that's what you need to bring into a relationship, is that sort of confidence. And you need a partner who's going to appreciate you for you. So that's when you're out of balance, is when you're finding that you're not getting the attention that you want, or you're not getting seen. Leos need to be seen. So Venus, Leo energy is all about, please see the real me. And if you are kind of having to beg your partner to see you, then it's probably not the right partner for you. But when it's in balance and healthy, you are out there being your authentic, confident self, and you are getting the applause. You're getting the appreciation. You're getting the love from the partner that you're seeking. So a great place for Venus's Leo energy to meet somebody would be an acting class. It could be an art class. It could be a singing class, like anything where you get to have your own individual creative expression shine. It doesn't have to be the arts where you can be creative. Like I've known Leo energy where they're creative in poker, right? So that's kind of just like, what is your individuality and who are you to shine, and then really allowing whoever is your natural partner to see the authentic you and to let them appreciate you. And then also to remember to appreciate them. I know when things are in balance for Leo, they're incredibly good at appreciating their partners. They're very generous, they're very big-hearted, and they are just a ton of fun. So, I have a Leo husband, so I consider myself very lucky. So let's get on to the next one. We have got now Venus in Virgo. Another swing in the energy. So Venus in Virgo is going to be more about service. And so Virgos like to be helpful. Virgos can be very self-critical too. So the energy of Virgo is all about, where do I need to improve? What can be improved? How can things be perfect? It's represented by the sign of the Virgin. And really the reason that was the original depiction of a Virgo was because the Virgin was, untouched and pure. And so what makes something perfect and untouched? And where is this idealism? So Venus and Virgo energy, there's a certain degree of idealism. Like you kind of have your ideal mate in mind. And people can often fall short of the ideal, I'm sure you found. So Venus and Virgo, you like to be helpful, and you can see where things can be perfect and where things couldn't be better. And your ideal mate is somebody who understands that that's what you're doing. You're not being critical necessarily. You're trying to improve the relationship. And you need a partner that's going to work on the relationship with you. You can't have somebody who is not interested in exploring their own day-to-day, behavior. They need to have some degree of self-reflection, because you have a lot of self-reflection. You're constantly self-reflecting. And as you do that, you're sitting there saying, well, I think that this person needs to do that, and then I will have this. They need to be receptive to that. Now, not everybody is cut that way. Not everyone can see that you're telling them how they need to improve is actually done with love. So you may need to temper that. But know that there's a lot of work that can be done as a couple when you have Venus and Virgo energy, because you are all about self-improvement and you are all about making this a healthy, productive relationship. And you are willing to do the work. That is one thing that I will say with Venus and Virgos, they're willing to do the work. And if you're finding you're overwhelmed and you don't want to do the work, then you're probably not in the right relationship for you. Venus in the sign of Libra. So we've got the second ruler now. So again, Venus likes to be in the sign of Libra, much like it likes to be in the sign of Taurus, but it's a very different energy than Venus and Taurus. Venus and Libra is much more about balance. And, Libra is the scales, right? And so it's kind of that justice. And so for you, you have a little bit more of diplomatic tendencies in a relationship. You kind of don't like to rock the boat. You don't always come clear with what you want, because sometimes you don't know what you want. And that can be frustrating for your partner, and it can be frustrating for yourself. With Libra energy, and this is especially true in partnerships, there can be the grass is always greener feeling. Like, oh, if I was with that person, I'd be happy. And then you're with that person and you see another person, and oh, if I was with that person, I would be happy. So that's kind of a downfall or a pitfall with Venus and Libra, is this sense of not necessarily always being able to commit because there might be a better option. That's something that I've seen a lot in my practice. But I also have seen that Venus and Libra, you need a lot of different relationships to kind of learn about how you relate and what you need in a relationship. So every relationship is going to teach you something. And so the more that you get comfortable with that idea, the more then you can understand that each person that you date has something to offer you, and you have something to offer them on their journey. And so Venus and Libra, we also have a sense of really needing an aesthetic connection, an attraction on a more aesthetic viewpoint. So it's not necessarily superficial, but you need to feel attracted to the person that you're with on a different kind of level. There's kind of this person this partnership is really a reflection of me. And so that's a very sort of Libra and Venus feeling. I think that every single Venus and Libra person I know has had the most beautiful wedding. So some of these kind of like really juicy, wonderful connections, you can be about the other person and you can understand the other person's point of view. But sometimes that's to your own detriment because you don't speak your mind. It's just easier to avoid conflict sometimes with a Venus and Libra. And so there's a sense of, looking at the whole chart. Are you somebody that gives into your partner's needs and doesn't get your own needs met, and then you feel resentful? That's something to look carefully at. But as someone with a Venus in Libra, Venus likes to be in Libra. It's a very relationship oriented sign that I think will serve you well. So now we are going to look at Venus in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio Venuses are sexy. They are intriguing. They are dark and they are mysterious. And you may not look dark and mysterious. You don't have to be, goth to have your Venus in Scorpio, but you do have to have a certain degree of comfort with the darker realms when it comes to relationship. So I've seen a lot of Venus Scorpio connection where people are attracted to kind of like a more dangerous partner, somebody who is going to activate within them their darker realms or their shadow side. And so that's part of the learning for Venus and Scorpio, is how to get in touch with their own shadow or things they don't maybe consciously want to acknowledge about themselves. Venus and Scorpio can be really kinky and interesting and deep and can have an attraction just to the depths of life. And there's a strong, intimate bond that can happen when you have a Venus and Scorpio. You're really not about dating around and having lots of superficial relationships. I mean, the archetype that I think of when I think of Venus and Scorpio is Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, right? What a passionate, fascinating relationship. I think I read that they just broke up, but he's all angsty about it and she's, out there talking about her plastic surgery. I mean, all of that is very Venus in Scorpio because it's about transformation and the marks that they've left on one another. And, they're not done with this relationship. That's all very Venus in Scorpio. It's kind of like, I'm here to make a mark on you. I'm here to put my brand or my tattoo on you. Maybe not literally, but you don't come away from a Venus and Scorpio encounter unscathed. It's like there is something kind of deep and dark and interesting that the two of you need to explore together. And there's a lot of juicy passion, and it can be dramatic, but it can also just be really deep intimacy where you're there for one another. And long term, a spouse's partner or a spouse's parent dies, and you're able to hold that truth and be a loving partner for them. So that is my take on Venus and Scorpio. So next we're going to look at Venus in the sign of Sagittarius. So another different energy altogether. This is a very adventurous Venus. This is one where you need to get up and go. You need to have a partner who is incredibly interested in travel and learning and optimism. You are very optimistic in love, and you're not going to be somebody who's going to be okay with a partnership where you just sit on the couch and watch TV night after night. That's not the kind of partnership you crave, and it's not the person that's not what you bring to a relationship. What you bring to a relationship is adventure. You bring that, I could see a couple going on that Amazing Race. That's Venus in Sagittarius. It's let's go do this together and see the world, and let's, be a part of the world. Let's be out there. And there's kind of this confidence of we know what's happening. Another really interesting expression that I've seen with Venus and Sagittarius is volunteering for political campaigns or activism. like somebody who like feels really passionately about a cause, and you partner up with somebody who also feels passionately about that cause. You can also be you can meet your partner in college, university. You can meet your partner anytime that you are learning and your sense of something bigger than yourself is activated. You're very attractive. And I think it gives you that natural confidence and sense of optimism. You can travel by yourself and meet people. And that's a gift that Sagittarius energy has. So some of the downfalls of Sagittarius and Venus is maybe a little bit too much optimism. You might overwhelm your partner. Sagittarius has foot and mouth disease. Very often you find people with that sort of Sagittarius energy that's maybe a little bit more Mercury in Sag, but I think that, you might say something to your partner that they may construe differently than you mean it. You may have the best of intentions, but you're just kind of blunt and saying whatever comes to mind. And so that's a very Sagittarian kind of energy. So if we swing over to Venus and Capricorn, we have the much more loyal and staid and much more willing to sit on the couch night after night watching TV energy. So this is, when you bring to the table someone that can be relied upon, someone that is a hard worker in a relationship, someone that is willing to do the work. Because relationships can be work, and you recognize that, and not everybody does. A Venus in Capricorn and a Venus in Sagittarius might have very different lenses, right? Whereas like Sagittarius, all the world is, their oyster. With Capricorn, it's like, no, we need to buckle down and we need to do this together. But you can get so much accomplished together as in a partnership as well. So that's really important too, is to know that you can be successful with your partner. Your partner can give you a certain degree of status. Your partner with Venus in Capricorn, your partner might be older than you because you bring a certain degree of maturity to the table that not everybody else does. And you may need a more mature partner. And so a lot of times in my practice, I'll see somebody with a Venus in Cancer and they're dating someone 10 years older than them. And that's absolutely normal. It matches where they are at on their journey. And so Venus and Capricorn, they're trustworthy, high integrity, hardworking. All those things are the good things. The things that you have to watch out for is kind of being a little too negative and, giving into depression. Especially if you get your heart broken, there can kind of be this backlash and not trusting. Oh, all women are X, all men are, crazy, all, kind of that feeling of like projecting your depression and your fear of getting hurt again out to the other person. So Venus in the sign of Aquarius is also more about the common good. So a Venus and Aquarius person is a little bit more of an individual in a relationship. So it's very different than that Venus and Leo. They're on this, they're opposite signs. Whereas Venus Leo needs to express their own individuality in a way that they get applause. Venus in Aquarius doesn't need the applause. Venus in Aquarius has the innate confidence to express their individuality on their own. So there's kind of I could take it or leave it sort of feeling with a Venus in Aquarius. That doesn't mean a Venus in Aquarius wouldn't want a relationship or won't have relationships. It means that they have a certain understanding that the relationship isn't the be all end all. And they can sometimes need their space. That's a really important thing with Venus in Aquarius is I've seen in my practice a sense of fear of commitment. Because they don't want to be boxed in. They don't want to be stifled. A really great Venus and Aquarius expression sometimes can be like long distance relationships. It's really anything that's out of the box, but fits you uniquely. So if you're finding that you do have a fear of commitment, or that you attract people that are commitment phobes, or that are not available to you, one of the things that you can do is kind of check in with yourself and say, what is my Venus and Aquarius need? What does my Aquarius need? Like, where do I need to express myself? Where do I need to feel free and rebellious and like my true individual self? And then kind of work with that energy with the partner. It can be done. You might attract to you people that are kind of zany or on the, spectrum of like, out of the ordinary, not what people would expect. I knew a Venus and Aquarius person who, she was constantly going after married men. So, and that's because she really didn't want to be boxed in. She wanted to have her freedom within the relationship. I wouldn't say that's a particularly healthy expression. I think a healthy, but maybe it was for them, probably not for the other wife. But, ultimately find out how you can feel free within a relationship and then work with your partner. You may just need to have, weekends to yourself, or you may need to, have it be no big deal to your partner if like one day you come home with blue hair. That's kind of Venus and Aquarius energy. Like you have to be able to let your freak flag fly and they have to let your freak flag fly. So last but not least, Venus and Pisces. What we have here is a very beautiful, mystical, magical Venus where you are all about going with the flow. You have so much compassion for your partner and so much empathy and so much love, and you need that in return. So the beautiful thing about Venus and Pisces is it's very artistic. It's very romantic. There is like romance on steroids with Venus and Pisces. And you are looking at, classical music and white flowers and, just all of the beautiful kind of dreamy archetypes, like, sitting on a cloud, making out with your boyfriend. That is Venus and Pisces. You are in the clouds. And so that is the really beautiful thing because you can have the most romantic connections of any of the signs. The challenge is that you can be in la la land when it comes to relationships. You may not always see the person clearly. There could be a little bit of a fog or, gauze in front of your eyes. Like you're not seeing the person clearly. There's a lot of projection that can go on with Pisces. And there can also be a lot of escapism where you don't want to see the other person clearly. And, it's understandable. Like we have this beautiful vision of what can be in the world. And that's like the opposite Pisces Virgo. Virgo sees it really clearly, a little too clearly sometimes. And Pisces sees it not clear enough. And so they're always trying to balance one another out. And so if you have a Venus and Pisces, really enjoy and sit in and luxuriate in the fact that you are a romantic individual and you have a romantic soul and you can have the most fantastic bond ever with your lover and the love of your life. And you will have a beautiful wedding someday. However, the goal is to get a partner that's going to be in it for the long haul with you. And in order to make sure that that person is the person you think they are, check it out with your friends. Am I seeing this person clearly? Ask your astrologer. Ask your friends. Don't say, is this person right for me or wrong for me? Because the bottom line is like lots of different combinations of people can be right or wrong for one another, but you can check in with your loved ones. And if they have red flags about this person and you trust them, I'm not talking about family dynamics where, they don't like anyone that you bring home, but like your best friend, if your best friend has some red flags about this person, maybe perk your ears up, listen to them, have a sounding board with people you trust. If they can see things you can't see, and then maybe tune into that. And, they might be like, no, that person's amazing for you. You guys fit like a glove. And sometimes someone fits like a glove for a time and then eventually they don't, So Venus and Pisces, also you have to be careful of drugs, alcohol, anything addictive. You may be prone to it yourself or you may attract someone who is prone to it. So that's just a caution for you, but not to be doom and gloom because Venus and Pisces has a lot of beautiful energy. I think Venus is exalted in Pisces. I hope I'm not wrong about that. Anyway, I hope that this is helpful. And so this is just a little bit about Venus in each of the signs. If you want a full astrology reading to learn all about your relationships, your career, everything, you can go to lawlessastrology.com. is below. And you can also visit my other YouTube videos. There is Venus in the houses. There's planets conjunct Venus. I think I'm going to do one about the rulership of the 7th house, because I want to be all about relationships to help you understand yourself, how you relate, what you bring to the table, but also what you need. So, as always, if this is good information and you're interested in it, like, subscribe, share, and remember, the universe is conspiring to help you. There is a reason and a season for it all. So until next time, stargazers, have a lovely week.